Ready? Woo!
Hey, you started up there, big dog. You know what that means.
Another episode of Terry Thornberry Performance.
And you guys just heard this old girl just started up on starting fluid for the first time.
That's right.
But there's one big problem. Starting fluid. It needs to start on by the key. So we got some final things to get situated on this old girl. We've already went ahead in G&J and picked up some of the fuel fittings so we can get the OEM fuel lines onto this old girl. But last but not least, we told you yesterday that we were going to show you guys how to get this thing wired up and show you guys what wires correctly to get wired up. So if you have one of these swaps, you guys can get it started. So let's start off this video by showing you guys what you need. Let's go. Woo! Welcome back to my little home. Unfortunately, this is not the place I want to be, but it's the place I need to be. So to get your 1UZ FE started non-VVTi from a 92, so Gen 1 1UZ, you're going to need a couple of the wiring from the engine harness. First steps first is you're going to locate your clip that's got your starter wire. It's going to be a thicker black wire. That's going to be your starter signal right to your starter, obviously. Within that gray clip, there's going to be a couple other wires you'll need to grab. It's going to be two black and reds, going to be a black and orange, and then a thinner black and orange. So I can show you on this clip the two black red ones, a thinner orange one, and then there's as well a thicker black and orange. You'll tie all these up to your 12-volt switch, so when the car turns on, this will see power. The last wiring you'll need is just from your ECU. It's going to be the 4th plug. If you don't have it, you can grab it from other Toyota series. That being said, you'll need to repin it. If it already has all the wiring included, then perfect. So the numbers you'll need to give power to are pin 26 and pin 4. It's just a EFI main relay and the battery. Give those two 12 volts to your 12-volt switch, obviously to your key. Tie that in with your fuel pump, and that'll be everything you need to get the wiring situated on your 1UZ. Make sure to ground your igniters and both your coils to a good ground source, and you will be hearing some Japanese fire-breathing dragons coming out that pipe. To finish off the rest of the wiring for obviously the OEM, you're going to need to bring everything to the chassis. So you'll need to bring in your alternator wire to give the alternator back to the battery, the exciter wire for the alternator. That's going to be the last final things for the engine into the cabin. Now we got to bring all your wiring over to your ignition source, or if you have a switch panel, whatever the case is. So I need to get that rest of the done. I need to get that situated and finalized before I go out of the car and start working on the fuel and the fuel pump situated.
Did I just hear the sauce? You just tell the viewers the sauce.
The sauce.
You guys just got sauced up with the info. You guys better have your pen and paper out.
Make sure you guys see these swaps on the road. I want to see yours. Let's move on to the next thing so we can get this day started, hear this thing hopefully run and drive on its own power. Let's go.
So now I'm going to show you guys what you guys need to do in order to actually hear this thing drive and start and perform the way it needs to. So, as you guys know, this thing comes stock with the 4-cylinder KA. With that being said, that's not a sufficient amount of fuel to now feed 8 cylinders. So we gotta bump up the fuel pressure and fuel pump. So, taking out the old stock one, and we're throwing in a Walbro 255. So you can see it's definitely hasn't been touched, which is okay, but it's a telltale sign that it's still stock. So when we go to start this thing up and actually drive it, once we hook up the fuel lines, it's still not going to be a sufficient amount of fuel if we just left the stock fuel pump. So make sure you put a fuel pump on that list when you're swapping a 1UZ in your S13. Let's go. As I expected, it's a stock fuel pump. So look at that, baby! Oh yeah, baby. Perfect. Gotta make sure you have the socks on. It's ready to go. All of our Walbro 255s that we sell here come with fuel line, the worm clamps, and the clip. Boom. Now you just gotta wire it up. Simple, power ground to basically how the OEM one is. And this puppy will fire up and give you some fuel pressure, baby. Boom. So let's stop talking about it and let's get this thing on and back in the tank and tell Jad it's ready to go to fire up by the key. Let's roll.
Alright, so I've made my way out of the cockpit all the way to the engine bay for one last time. If you have a 240 SX, this is only going to apply to you guys. So if you have your OEM fuse box still attached in the engine bay, you're going to have your 3 white clips that go to your battery. This will be the only thing that you'll need to reconnect. Grab this wire. You can go to 2 gauge or you can go with the 8 gauge. Run that wire all the way to your power source, back to your battery, and this will allow everything for your key to now turn on for your accessories and for you to now wire everything up to your key or either by your fuse panel, whatever the case is. Last tech tip of the day. Let's get on to other things.
You got me now. You got me going crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, let me give you guys the Walbro 255 S13 fuel sending unit to fulfill that 1UZ UFE fuel pressure, baby. This is well plenty enough for that V8 that we got. Oh, just like so. Now we just gotta put the hoses back on, make sure it's ready to hit the road. That's right, Jack. Hit the road!
So the last final step, just to make sure that fuel pump is getting voltage back there, you can either run your wires all the way back from there, giving yourself the 12-volt relay mod. As well, if you want to cut to the chase, you can go give your black and yellow wire that's in your OEM 240 body chassis harness. And here's a black and yellow wire. If you guys are unsure that it's it, just do your continuity check. Guarantee it will be it. That runs all the way back to there to your purple and white wire. That's going to be giving it 12 volts. So you just run this wire, give that to your relay system, grab that 12 volts. You'll guarantee have power going to your fuel pump. Then your ignition source, I've already showed you which wires you need to wire that into your battery source to make sure that your OEM ignition source is working. So let me stop talking so we can make sure this 1UZ runs by the time this video ends, baby. Let's go. So you guys just see me struggling a little bit getting the fuel line off. Need to obviously get the new line to relocate them for the motor. We already said we went to G&J, got ourselves some barbs fittings. That being said, we were going ahead and put some fuel line on there, 3/8 just soft line. Make sure to get the system running. We're not trying to go over budget with the car. We're trying to make sure it runs and drives. As you guys have already seen, the chassis needs a lot of love. So we want to get the motor situated so we can move on to the next things, like suspension and the 5 lugs and also the rim. So that being said, let's get the fuel situated so you guys can finally hear this thing and I can rev it out a little bit. Let's see if the force is one with this car. Let's go start it. Alrighty guys, so we're now in the cockpit. Like I just told you, we're about to see what the key does. Everything inside the engine bay is wired up. Those 3 white wires that I showed you, giving 12-volt power from your battery. All the wires that I showed you from the ECU are all wired up, giving 12-volt switch. So now we're in the car, let's see what she does. Well, I'm already getting things from the dash to light up. Well, I hear the chime. Y'all 240s know that chime. Let's see what she does. Whoa! What?
And all the fluid for the fuel lines is all getting up to the actual fuel line. Now the injectors are working 100%.
So we just gotta finalize a couple of little things. Now we know the motor starts, everything mechanically is good. Terry said there's already getting fuel. We already know there's no leaks. Now we'll go ahead and finish up the intake side. Make sure we get rid of the idler control valve loop. Clean up the rest of the little things, get the radiator, some water in this thing, and hopefully by next video, you guys will see us ripping around the streets with the fire-breathing 1UZ FE motor. So, but hope you guys liked and enjoyed this couple little build series for you guys. If you guys have any comments, please drop below. We've kind of showed you guys every little thing that we've done to show you guys that you guys can do this as well. You don't need a shop. If you guys do have any problems, you guys let us know. Until further notice, we will see you guys on the track, on the YouTube, or on the streets. Peace out.
But until then, keep liking and subscribing, and we like all the support. Until then, peace out. Woo!